Cultural event, so I'm not going to do an academic sort of presentation, but I did want to share some photos and images with you that point to what Trustee Pei has been talking about, is that we share more connectedness than what divides us. So I'm going to share a little bit from the Hindu community from India. I'm going to begin, next please. I'll begin with the peace chant. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve shantu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kischit dukbhag bhavet. Om shanti shanti shanti. Next. You know, it's unfortunately not the Chinese and the Indian civilization, the Hindu civilization course material is really not covering much. So I'm so happy to have this opportunity to tell you a little bit about our shared heritage, our Asian shared heritage. And the Indian civilization, the Hindu civilization has contributed greatly to world civilization. Unfortunately, it's been ignored in the curriculum. It's either appropriated in Western universalism or misrepresented. But I wanted to let you know that in the ancient times, from the 1st century onwards, for 1700 years, India and indeed China shared over 50 to 55% of the world trade before the British rule. And by the time the British left, India's GDP was a mere 3%. So, you know, there is huge knowledge that has been come to the West from India, and there's huge appreciation for that gift to humanity. And I've got this quote from Will Durant, which says, "The Mother India, in many ways, is the mother of all of us." I had to pick and choose a few items of our gifts to humanity, and one of them throughout Asia and even here in Canada and in the West is the gift of Buddha. The Buddha, his name was Siddhartha Gautam, and he was a Hindu prince in the 6th century whose teachings were peacefully spread. And in those days, people traveled across. There were universities in India, the Nalanda University. People came there to learn from each other and of the Indian heritage. Thank you. So a lot of people don't even know when you go to different countries that actually is Hindu heritage. For example, if you go to Japan, you will see different deities that in the Hindu temple, in the Buddhist temples, and they are called by different names. So for example, Saraswati Ma and Bhagwan Vishnu is called by different names. And it's really amazing. I talked to some of my Japanese friends, and even they don't know that the connection with the Hindu deities. So, you know, it's been thousands of years and things get lost, but it's beautiful to recognize our connectedness. Thank you. I know Trustee Pei has a wonderful performance by martial artists coming up, and I wanted to mention that martial arts were part of the Vedic knowledge, ancient Vedic knowledge, thousands and thousands of years ago. And in 1400 years ago, Bodhidharma took this martial arts program to China because his concern for stress in the community. And from there, in India, it was called Kalari Payuttu in Kerala, in south of India. And from there, it went to China, and from there to Japan and other countries. Next. You'll all see a fabulous performance of Shaolin Kung Fu later, and karate and jiu-jitsu. They were all adopted from the Hindu martial arts, rooted in the ancient Dhanur Vedas. You'll be surprised to know that even the words are derived from Sanskrit language. For example, the yujutsu, yuhu, means desire and mentality to fight. So this was as you know, a way to de-stress also and be centered, because when you're centered, you're less concerned about the noise around you. So these are beautiful knowledges that have come across the world today, and I'm sure some of the kids here probably going to these classes. One of the most beautiful surprises that I got 2 years ago during Hindu Heritage Month, we had Anita Bose talk about the Ramayana and Sri Ram. And Sri Ram lived 12,000 years ago. It's hard to imagine that time. It was so ancient. And when the divine took the form of a human being to get rid of some, troublemakers on earth and deliver them to a safe place, and he set an example of how to serve society and live a life with love and devotion. And so you'll see from the Indian subcontinent, the Sri Ram's love, the story of Sri Ram has inspired so many peoples for over these thousands of years and ages. Next, please. If you travel to the many Southeast Asian countries, you will see paintings, architecture, outdoor, and art, dance, music, based on the Ramayana. There's so much love and devotion, not in the religious sense, but more in a cultural traditions. And he inspired us to be ideal human beings. And it's actually been declared as the intangible heritage of Asia. The Korean drummers was so fantastic, and I definitely wanted to include this story that a Hindu princess from Ayodhya, which is Sri Ram's birthplace, married a Korean king, Kim Suro, 2,000 years ago. And apparently there's up to 15 million descendants, and many have now made pilgrimages to India, to Ayodhya, to come to the place where their ancestors came for. Isn't that absolutely amazing that we are connected with our ancestors as well? And isn't this a magical realization how much we share, even genetically, with India? You'll see the First Lady, Kim Jong, she came and she's making a special effort, and there's efforts to build a very beautiful temple in Korea in Sri Ram's name. And Thailand is of particularly very vibrant culture around the Ramayana. And you'll be shocked to know that, for many, many generations, the king of Thailand is called King Ram. And today we're on the 10th King Ram. And there is celebration of the Ramayana story in very great detail. They use the costumes. They have huge reverence for the crown because they know it represents Sri Ram. So they treat even the crown, they won't put it on the floor, they put it aside. I mean, there's so much love and reverence for the story of Sri Ram. And if you go, you will see big statues of Sri Ram and Sita and Hanuman and all the deities across these countries. Thank you. In particular, Indonesia has a part called Bali, and there you see spectacular sculptures, huge, gigantic sculptures gracing the city and the vistas. And there's a thriving Hindu culture still there, and it's very beautiful that even the Muslim community in Indonesia celebrates Sri Ram. And people have asked them, you're Muslim, why would you celebrate Sri Ram? And they have said, well, he's our ancestor. This is our ancestor, and we want to honor the ancestor. So this is the power of love and unity that can transcend differences, which is what Trustee is trying to do at the TDSB, is to bring togetherness and connectedness rather than the divisions. Thank you, Trustee Pei. In Bali, there is actually, I wanted to mention, there is a temple, Prambanan, and in which since the 1930s, there has been the Ramayana performance every day. That's absolutely spectacular, and they do it with such devotion, and it's a whole culture in that city to act this out. And they've been going to India with their performances and to strengthen the ties with India. These pictures I wanted to mention are sourced from a book by Anita Bose. She's an Indian, she was just an ordinary housewife who was traveling and began to notice these things and wrote this beautiful book. And she visited all these places and wrote this book, and these pictures are from there. I want to acknowledge her. And one of the places she visited was in Laos, and there's a royal palace hall, and she was asked to go to the rotunda, to the main hall, and the whole of the Ramayana story is painted on the ceiling. It's absolutely amazing to leave India and to find Ramayana stories in all kinds of places that you never expected. So I haven't mentioned every place, but you get the picture. You know, Sanskrit is the mother of all languages, and it pops up in many places. And you may not know that the Mekong River, the gigantic, mighty Mekong, actually comes from the Ma Ganga. It actually was named after Mother Ganga, the sacred river that runs through India. So I want to just end by talking again, referring to Dr. Pei's goal here in today's event and at TDSB, is how we can come together to celebrate our oneness, our connectedness, and to realize that we really are a one world family. And this is a Sanskrit prayer that reminds us that only small minds discriminate, saying one is a relative, the other is a stranger. For those who live magnanimously, the entire world constitutes but a family. One world, one family. I belong to you. Thank you and namaste. Yes, okay. And now